Hello everybody, towards the end of last year, 2022, we were fortunate enough to acquire 3 combo sets of the Canon EOS R6 and the 100-500 lens with the adapter. And what I thought I would do for you today is just create a video of my first impressions using this camera out in the field, what I liked about it, and potentially some of the things that I didn't like about it. So I was very fortunate enough in that I've had 2 occasions now, one in December where I went to Tiger Canyon in the Free State to test out this camera body and lens, and then I also took it to Uganda just to test it out, because I find that Uganda is one of the more difficult and more challenging areas to photograph, especially when you're photographing the chimpanzees and the gorillas. It's dark subjects in the forest, potentially dark backgrounds. So one of my concerns was the ISO capabilities of it, but before we get to that, first impressions of it, it's a nice, small, easy to hold camera body, nice and light. It's a very light lens. What Canon's obviously done is they've upgraded from the EF 100-400 lens to the RF 100-500 lens. One thing with this though is the 100-400 is 4.5, or it has an aperture of 4.5 to 5.6 throughout the range. It's 5.6 at 400 mils, whereas the RF 100-500, and one of my concerns was this specific reason, is that pretty much from 100 to 400 you're still getting a fairly low aperture of 5.6, but as soon as you go the extra 100 mils, the aperture goes to 7.1, which in low light isn't ideal. You want to try and start bringing your aperture level down. One of my concerns was this, and so in saying that, I pumped my ISO up. And with this camera, I was comfortable pumping it up to about 3200 ISO. The results were really, really good. Very, very little noise. But the higher you start going from there, the more noise you start seeing. But in my opinion, in terms of wildlife photography, I would rather have a slightly noisy image than no image at all. And on top of that, with all the programs available now, you can obviously use Topaz and denoise and get rid of all the noise. So that was just one of the issues that I seem to struggle a little bit with. What I really do like about this camera, I know a lot of the new mirrorless stuff that's come out, is the back screen, and having it as a touch screen. You can also maneuver the back screen however you like it. And what I found to be hugely advantageous about this is that I didn't have to keep my camera to the face all the time. I could maneuver my hands and the screen in order to get the angle for the different shots that I wanted to in the field. This camera shoots at about 12 frames a second, which for me is perfectly fine. If you go onto the mechanical shutter, being a mirrorless camera body, it goes up to 20 frames a second, which is, in my opinion, more than what you need. I'm someone who is quite conservative when it comes to frame rate, so I'd rather try and assess, especially in wildlife photography, assess animal behavior and plan my shot correctly, as opposed to just doing flat out bursts and filling up memory cards. So yeah, those are just a couple of things that really stuck out to me on this lens. Obviously traveling with it is also a massive plus. I did have my doubts, having not used mirrorless cameras quite a lot, so on both my trips I did take DSLR cameras with, but ended up using this combination 90% of the time. What I am going to be doing in time is doing another video where I'm going to be setting up the R6, the Canon EOS R6, specifically for wildlife photography, and I'll take you through step by step how I go about doing that.